Every summer, the same thing happens. Your air conditioner runs almost non-stop, trying to keep the house cool. And then the electric bill arrives $450, sometimes even higher. You look at that number and think, there has to be a cheaper way to stay comfortable. What if I told you there's a way to keep your house cool for 6 full hours during the hottest part of the day without running the AC at all? And the craziest part? I built the entire system for under $300. Yeah, you heard that right. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I made a simple underground water battery. Basically a big tank of water buried in the ground that stores coolness from the earth at night and releases it when you need it most. No expensive geothermal system, no complicated equipment, just a beginner-friendly setup that actually works. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. Digging a big hole in the backyard sounds like a nightmare. It's going to be expensive, messy, and maybe even against the rules. I thought the exact same thing at first, but here's what I discovered. You don't need a huge, complicated system to get real results. You can start small, spend very little, and still make a noticeable difference in how often your AC has to run. That's exactly what I did. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire process from the moment I got the idea, to the mistakes I made along the way, to the results that honestly surprised me. If you've ever looked at your summer electric bill and thought there has to be a better way, then stick around, because what I'm about to show you might change how you think about keeping your house cool. Let's get into it. Before we start digging and building anything, let's talk about the plan. Because if you want to build something that actually works without spending a fortune, you have to think smart from the beginning. The idea behind this underground water battery is actually pretty simple. During the night, the ground stays cooler than the air. So if you have a big tank of water buried underground, that water slowly absorbs the cool temperature from the soil. Then during the day, when it's hot outside, you pump that cool water through a heat exchanger and blow air over it. The air gets cooler, and you get to enjoy that coolness inside your house without running the AC as much. That's the basic principle. Nothing magical, just physics working in your favor. Now, when I first started planning this project, I had one main rule: keep the total cost under $300. That meant I couldn't use fancy materials or professional equipment. I had to find simple, cheap, and effective options. Here's what I ended up using. First, the tank. Instead of buying an expensive concrete or metal tank, I went with a heavy-duty plastic water tank, the kind people usually use for rainwater collection. I found a 300-gallon one for around $120 on Facebook Marketplace. It was used but still in good condition. You can also use large food-grade barrels if you want to go even cheaper. For the heat exchanger, I used PEX tubing, the same flexible pipe people use for plumbing. It's cheap, easy to work with, and doesn't corrode. I bought about 200 feet of half-inch PEX for less than $60. Then I needed a small pump to circulate the water. I didn't need anything powerful. A simple 1-2-volt submersible pump that costs around $25 to $35 was more than enough. For moving the air, I used a regular box fan, the kind you can buy at Walmart or Home Depot for $20 to $30. I later added a small radiator in front of the fan to make the heat exchange more efficient, but that's optional if you want to save more money. I also bought some basic fittings, a few ball valves, and some insulation material to wrap around the pipes. All of that together came in under $50. So let me break it down quickly. Tank, around $120. PEX tubing, around $60. Small pump, around $30. Box fan, around $25. Fittings, valves, and insulation, around $40. Total, right around $275. And that's being generous. If you already have a fan or can find a used tank, you can bring it down even lower. One thing I want to mention, you don't have to copy my exact setup. The important thing is understanding the principle. As long as you have a large volume of water underground, a way to move that water, and a way to blow air over it, the system will work. You can scale it up or down depending on your budget and space. Before we move on to the actual building part, I want to give you one important piece of advice. Always check your local rules before digging. Some areas have restrictions on how deep or how large you can dig, especially if you're near utility lines. A quick call to 811 inches the US can save you from a very expensive mistake. All right, with the plan and materials ready, it was finally time to start building. And this is where things got interesting and a little messy. All right, with the plan ready and the materials sitting in my backyard, it was finally time to start digging. And let me tell you, this part looked a lot easier on paper than it actually was. The first thing I had to decide was how big of a hole I actually needed. I went with a hole about 4 feet deep and roughly 6 feet wide. That was big enough to fit my 300-gallon tank with some room around it for insulation and pipes. I didn't go too deep because I wanted to keep things simple and avoid running into any utility lines. Digging by hand with a shovel would have taken forever, so I rented a small excavator for half a day. It cost me about $80, but it saved me a ton of time and back pain. If you have friends with equipment or want to do it completely by hand to save money, that's totally fine too. It'll just take longer. Once the hole was ready, I carefully lowered the tank into place using some straps and a few extra hands. I made sure the tank was sitting on a flat, stable base of sand and gravel so it wouldn't shift or crack over time. Then I started filling the space around the tank with more gravel and some foam board insulation on the sides and top. The goal was to keep the water as cool as possible by limiting heat transfer from the surrounding soil and air. Next came the piping. I ran the PEX tubing in a loose coil inside the tank so it would have maximum contact with the water. I brought both ends of the pipe up through the top of the tank and sealed everything properly with waterproof fittings. This part was actually pretty straightforward, but I did make one mistake here. I didn't insulate the pipes well enough where they came out of the ground. Later, I had to go back and wrap them better because they were losing some of the coolness before the water even reached the fan. After the tank and pipes were in place, I connected the small pump. I placed it inside the tank near the bottom so it could pull the coolest water from the lowest point. Then I ran the outlet pipe to the radiator I had set up in front of the box fan. The idea was simple: pump cool water through the radiator, and the fan would blow air across it, cooling the air as it passed through. I also added a couple of ball valves so I could control the water flow and easily shut the system off if I needed to do maintenance. That turned out to be a really good decision later on. Now, I have to be honest with you, I made a few mistakes during this build. The first one was not leveling the tank properly. After I filled it with water, I noticed it was slightly tilted, which made the water level uneven. I had to drain it, adjust the base, and refill it again. That wasted a few hours and some water. The second mistake was not sealing one of the pipe connections well enough. I ended up with a small leak that I only noticed after the system had been running for a while. It wasn't a huge leak, but it was annoying. I had to dig back around the tank a little bit to fix it. And the third thing I underestimated was how heavy everything gets once it's full of water. Moving the tank into position was way harder than I expected. If you're planning to do this yourself, definitely get some help with the heavy lifting. But even with those small setbacks, I eventually got everything connected and sealed. The system was finally in the ground, the pump and fan were wired up, and it was time for the moment of truth, the first real test. That's what we're going to talk about in the next chapter. After everything was finally connected and buried, I was excited to turn the system on for the first time. I filled the tank with water, turned on the pump, and let the fan run. At first, everything seemed to be working. Water was circulating and the fan was blowing. But when I checked the temperature coming out of the radiator, I was a little disappointed. The air wasn't getting as cool as I had hoped. The temperature only dropped by about 3 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't the big difference I was expecting. I stood there for a while, feeling the air with my hand and wondering what was going wrong. After checking a few things, I realized there were a couple of issues. The first problem was that the water wasn't staying cool enough. Even though the tank was underground, the water temperature was higher than I expected. I think the main reason was that I didn't insulate the top of the tank well enough. Heat from the ground surface was still getting in during the day. The second issue was the pump. The small 1-2-volt pump I bought was moving water, but not very fast. Because the flow was slow, the water didn't have enough time to absorb the coolness from the tank before it reached the radiator. It was basically moving warmish water instead of really cold water. And the third thing I noticed was that the fan and radiator setup wasn't very efficient. The air was passing through too quickly, so it didn't have enough time to transfer heat to the water. At this point, I had two choices: spend more money trying to upgrade everything, or find simple, cheap fixes. I chose the second option. The first thing I did was improve the insulation on top of the tank. I added another thick layer of foam board and covered it with a tarp to block sunlight and rain. This was a cheap fix, only about $15, but it helped keep the water cooler. Next, I swapped the pump for a slightly stronger one. I found a used 4-volt pump online for around $25. It moved the water faster, which made a noticeable difference in how much coolness the water could carry to the radiator. For the fan and radiator, I didn't buy anything new. Instead, I built a simple wooden box around the radiator so the air from the fan had to pass through it more slowly and directly. This small change helped the air pick up more coolness as it went through. After making these adjustments, I waited until the next day to test again. I let the system run overnight so the water could fully cool down in the tank. The next afternoon, when it was hot outside, I turned everything on and measured the temperature again. This time, the air coming out of the radiator was noticeably cooler, about 8 to 9 degrees lower than the room temperature. It wasn't ice cold, but it was definitely refreshing. I placed the fan setup near the living room and let it run for a few hours. The result was better than I expected. The room felt more comfortable, and I didn't feel the need to turn on the air conditioner as early as usual. It wasn't perfect, but it was working, and more importantly, it was working with the cheap fixes I had made. I realized something important during this process. You don't always need expensive parts or a perfect design on the first try. Sometimes, small adjustments and better insulation can make a much bigger difference than buying fancy equipment. Of course, there was still room for improvement, but at this point, I was happy with the progress. The system was finally doing something useful, and I had learned a lot from the mistakes I made. After running the system and making those simple adjustments, I decided to let it run continuously for several days to see what kind of real results it could actually deliver. I want to share with you not only how much it helped reduce my air conditioner usage, but also the things I genuinely learned throughout the whole project, from the early mistakes to the gradual improvements I made along the way. After running the underground water battery for several days, I finally had some real results to share. And honestly, some of them surprised me. On the hottest days, when temperatures outside went above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, I was able to go almost 5 to 6 hours without turning on the air conditioner during the afternoon. Before building this system, I usually had the AC running from around 11 a.m. until late evening on really hot days. Now, I could keep the house comfortable enough to push that back significantly, sometimes until 5 or 6 p.m. The temperature in the living room where I placed the fan and radiator setup stayed about 6 to 8 degrees cooler than the rest of the house during peak heat. It wasn't as cold as when the AC was on full blast, but it was comfortable enough that I didn't feel the need to crank up the air conditioner just to survive the afternoon. I also noticed something interesting. Even on days when I did turn on the AC, it didn't have to work as hard. The house stayed cooler for longer after I turned the AC off, probably because the water battery was still pulling some heat out of the air. I didn't track exact electricity usage with a meter, but I could feel the difference in how often the AC was kicking on. Of course, this system isn't perfect. It doesn't replace a real air conditioner, especially during long heat waves. On the very hottest days, I still needed to run the AC for a few hours, but being able to reduce my AC runtime by several hours each day already felt like a win, especially since I built the whole thing for under $300. Looking back at this whole project, here are the biggest things I learned. First, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars or hire professionals to try something like this. Starting small and cheap allowed me to test the idea without taking a big financial risk. If it didn't work, I wouldn't have lost much. If it did work, which it did, I could always improve it later. Second, insulation matters more than I thought. A lot of the early problems I had were because heat was getting into the tank from the top and from the pipes. Once I improved the insulation, the performance got noticeably better. Sometimes the simplest and cheapest upgrades make the biggest difference. Third, it's okay to make mistakes. I tilted the tank, had leaks, chose the wrong pump at first, and underestimated how heavy everything would be. But every mistake taught me something and helped me improve the system step by step. If I had tried to make everything perfect on the first try, I probably would have spent way more money and gotten frustrated. And finally, this kind of project gives you a real sense of control. Instead of just complaining about high electric bills every summer, I actually did something about it. Even if the savings aren't huge at first, knowing that I built something with my own hands that helps keep my house cooler feels pretty good. If you're thinking about trying something similar, here's my advice. Start small. You don't need a 300-gallon tank on day one. You can begin with a couple of barrels or even a smaller tank to test the concept. Focus on good insulation and simple, reliable parts. And always check your local rules before digging. I'm really glad I tried this project. It wasn't perfect, but it worked better than I expected, and I learned a lot along the way. If you build something like this yourself, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think, or if you've tried any DIY cooling projects before. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more projects like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.